So what is the power of Thor in Marvel's Avengers? Let's talk about it.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Misfit Thor, back today with another Marvel's Avengers video. Today we're going to kind of break down Thor. It's going to be one of my first character breakdowns. I think this is my first character breakdown. This isn't going to be a build video or anything like that. We're just going to kind of go over what his abilities are, like what skills he has, and kind of how to implement. The thing is how battery effect works and how you can use it with this character. So the link for the battery effect video that I did will be down below, as well as the link for the stats breakdown video will be down below. So let's get this thing kicked off. We will go over here to skills. So the first section here is your primaries. Then under primaries, you have your light attack, heavy attack, hammer skills, and intrinsic abilities. We're going to kind of you will get all of these as you level up. You will get all of these. Later on, there are choices you have to make. But right now, these are all of them that you get. And I will kind of give you some suggestions for what to go for first. But, okay. So the first one is Midgard's Finest. It's basically your light combo attacks. It kind of like finishes with a light combo finisher. So press X to perform a basic attack, rapidly pressing X, 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 X to combo a series of light attacks. The last hit of the combo is a light combo finisher that inflicts significant damage. Damage increases per hit. The impact is low, stun rate is medium, reactions are normal, spin enemies around, and causes them to fly back. Right. So next is your major melee thing with Thor, the signature attack. Hammer spin. You hold X to execute a powerful spinning attack that hits all immediate enemies, rapidly pummeling them for increased damage. It can break block. It medium damage. Impact is low. Stun is very, very high, which again, that is very important for Thor. Stun rate to get them takedowns, things like that. Very, very important for Thor. Reaction to it is very light. They kind of just stay still as you hit them with it. So you can hit them a lot. And then Whirling Uru. It is the second stage of the signature attack. After executing Hammer Spin, press X to execute a follow-up spinning strike that hits immediate enemies, swiftly battering them for increased damage. Damage for this is medium. Impact is medium. Again, your stun rate is high, and this will actually cause enemies to have the stagger reaction. So this will actually kind of make them go, oh crap. And then there is a third stage to the signature attack called Mjolnir Cyclone. After executing Whirling Uru, press X to execute one last follow-up spinning barrage, hits all surrounding enemies, and inflicts increased damage. The damage on this is high, the impact is high, the stun rate is high, and this will actually cause enemies to kind of spin away from you. Next we have Sledgehammer. Press X while sprinting to execute a powerful leaping hammer strike with slightly more damage and impact than a standard light attack. The damage is medium, impact is medium, stun is medium, and the reaction will stagger them. Then you have Slide Smash. Press X immediately after dodging. So like once you dodge away, press X immediately in order to execute a sweeping hammer attack that spins enemies, making them vulnerable to additional attacks. Damage is medium, impact is medium, stun is medium, and the reaction causes the enemies to spin. Then you have Skyfire. This is while you're in the air. Press X rapidly to attack while in mid-air. Press XXX while airborne to execute a series of light attacks that incrementally increase damage. So damage increases per hit. Just like your light combo does, this also increases per hit. Impact is low, stun is medium, and this can launch enemies higher in the air. This staggers them and finally slams them to the ground. Then you have Starheart Slam. Hold X to build up a signature attack that quickly plummets straight down to the ground, creating a radial explosion on impact. So this breaks block. It has medium damage. It has impact is medium, stun is medium, and reaction causes them to stagger. Then we have the Hammer Slash. Press Y to execute a heavy attack that can interrupt enemies' attacks. Rapidly press YYY to chain together multiple heavy attacks. The last hit of the combo is a heavy combo finisher that inflicts significant damage and launches enemies into the air. Damage is medium, impact is medium, stun is high, reaction is knockdown, and it pops them up in the air, which is cool. So you can actually do that, follow it up with your rapid, your Skyfire, and then come down after you slam them down, hit them with Heart Slam. So, I mean, like, you can kind of combo things together, but we'll get more into what I suggest. Then you have Sigurd's Strike. It's a heavy attack upgrade. So basically, you can kind of go from light attack into a heavy combo finisher. So it's XXXY or the whatever button it is for the console you're using to execute powerful hammer attack that breaks through enemy defenses and flings them backwards with incredible force. So it breaks block, it's got high damage, high impact, medium stun, and it causes the enemy to fly back. Very good for getting a bigger threat away from you, so you can kind of probably maybe like knock them back, throw Mjolnir at them, that kind of thing. Alright, so Thunderstruck, it's a heavy attack upgrade. So you're going to rapidly press XXXY plus the right trigger to chain a light combo into a special heavy combo finisher that uses Odin Force to add a powerful lightning blast with a large damage area to the final attack. It breaks block, has high damage, high impact, high stun, as well as it causes the enemy to fly back. Then you have Storm Striker. Hold Y to charge up an overhead hammer attack that breaks through blocks and sends out a shockwave that does heavy damage, slamming enemies on impact. It breaks block, has high damage, medium impact, as well as high stun. It launches or slams the enemies down. Then you have Bring the Thunder. I love this. While on the ground, hold Y and right trigger to energize the Storm Striker attack with Odin Force. The attack has an increased damage area and can hit multiple enemies. This will break block. It does high damage, high impact, high stun, and it causes the slam reaction. See, it slams enemies down. This is a very good move too. If you're not particularly fond of the signature attack, like, this is actually really good. Especially if you got an enemy close to being fully stunned, you can hit this, finish stunning them. Then you have Air Lunge. This is while in air. Rapidly press Y to perform a heavy attack combo that incrementally increases in damage. So damage increases per hit, just like the light combo does. Impact is low. Stun is very high. Reactions are normal, and it also has a chance to knock back certain enemies. Then you have Falling Star. Hold Y while in midair to activate a diving hammer attack, damaging enemies on contact and causing a large damage area upon impact. It breaks block, does medium damage, medium impact, medium stun, as well as it knocks back enemies. Excuse me. Then you have Crack the Sky. While performing a Falling Star dive, hold the right trigger to channel intrinsic Odin force energy into a powerful lightning blast on impact. Increases normal damage area of Falling Star. This breaks block, has medium damage, high impact, medium stun, and will also knock back enemies. So then you hold for Mjolnir's flight, which is basically his basic ranged attack. You'll hold the left trigger, press the right trigger to throw the hammer. Hammer will pin enemies hit when thrown and stick onto surfaces on impact. Press the left trigger to recall Mjolnir after being thrown. It's effective on the ground or midair, so you can be flying and throw Mjolnir. Damage is medium, impact is medium, stun's low, and it has the pinned reaction, so it basically can pin opponents. It's very, very useful. So going down the line here, we have Tornado Throw. You hold the left trigger, hold right trigger, you'll start spinning Mjolnir to rapidly spin the hammer and charge up a powerful hammer throw that has increased damage and impact when right trigger is released. This breaks block, has high damage, has medium impact, medium stunned, and it can pin opponents. Okay, so we have a Movable Intent. Throwing the hammer can trap up to 2 enemies beneath its immovable might, leaving trapped combatants pinned and defenseless. So this will upgrade from just being able to pin 1 enemy to pinning 2. If you got 1 enemy standing right behind the other, you throw Mjolnir at them, they're both stuck. Tenacious Bolt. It charges the tornado throw with Odin force before it is released. The charged hammer arcs lightning out to enemies along its path when thrown. This breaks block, has low damage, medium impact, low stun, and it has a normal reaction to enemies. So basically it's you holding it, and then when you let it go, you throw it and you just let her rip like a Beyblade. Alright, Headstrong. So basically these are your unarmed attacks here. So say you throw Mjolnir, it's got an enemy. For example, we'll use those annoying phase bots. You manage to pin a phase bot. You don't want that jerk loose, and you want to keep fighting. So you have a few options here. You can punch regularly, but after the when you're unarmed, hold X to perform a powerful headbutt that leaves enemies open for follow-up attacks. It's very good for stunning, actually. It breaks block, has high damage, medium impact with high stun, and it staggers the opponent. It's very, very useful. Uru Uppercut after being thrown. So, like, you want to let that enemy go, but you want to follow up with an attack on an enemy. So press Y to recall Mjolnir and execute a powerful hammer uppercut that launches nearby targets in the facing direction. So it's got medium damage, medium impact, medium stun, and it launches enemies into the air. Just kind of a way to combo with Mjolnir a little bit. After being thrown, this is drop the hammer. After being thrown, press Y in mid-air to recall the hammer, then slam down to the ground, hitting all enemies in a radius around the impact point. So this is a good AoE move. Which in my opinion is one of Thor's highlights. It breaks block. It's got medium damage, medium impact, and medium stun. It causes the enemies to stumble. Then there's a variation of this. Well, actually, no, this is Crashing Thunder. After being thrown, press Y while sprinting to recall Mjolnir in a leaping strike that launches enemies into the air. So he's got medium damage, medium impact, and medium stun, and it launches enemies up, which is always fun because you can go right into another combo out of this. With all of that being said, your signature is your bread and butter for Thor. It has high stun, has higher chances to crit. It builds up, like I said, it builds up the stun meter, builds up the status meter, so you can set up for battery effect. Like I said, I have links to the battery effect video down in the description below to kind of explain that a little more. Ranged is a very, very, very good option for Thor. If you want to build Thor for ranged and a less heroic, you might want to use, Mjolnir a little bit. Throw a Mjolnir, catch a Mjolnir. All of that fun stuff is a way to build him ranged. But if you're building heroic Thor, like the traditional Valor build Thor, big boy God Blast damage Thor, then you kind of want to stick with the signature attack. High, like I said, high stun, can set up battery. Very, very effective. Then we can go over here and we have... That's right. And we have the intrinsic abilities. Electrostatic increases the maximum amount of intrinsic Odin force energy by 15%. Actually, we'll start up here at the top. Okay, Odin force. Hold the right trigger to activate Odin force, a divine power that harnesses lightning to counter incoming attacks but drains intrinsic Odin force energy. Does not counter unblockable attacks. The available charge of Odin force builds while not in use. Counter just before an attack hits to parry the attack, lowering the impact resistance of the attack. Damage is low, impact is high, stun is low, and it kind of like spins the enemies away from you. So the other one is Shock Resistor. It's kind of like a passive thing. 15% reduction to damage from enemy shock attacks. That 15% doesn't really do diddly. Okay, so God of Thunder, while Odin Force is active, boosts the strength of all melee attacks with an electrical charge that applies shock damage to targets and interrupts enemies' attacks. This is very, very useful because Thor is one of those characters that can self-battery. Again, link for the battery video in the description below. So, for example, if you have Vibranium on like his signature, you've got him filled with Vibranium, then you pull that right trigger and start using the Odin Force while you're hitting, so you're battering right there. So you're starting to get battery attacks. You can really do some nasty damage with Thor's signature attack. That's the reason I suggest it. Damage is low, impact is medium, stun is low. Then we'll go to the left over here. Electrostatic increases the maximum amount of intrinsic Odin force by 15%. Then you have Electric Field, increases the maximum amount of intrinsic Odin force energy by another 15%, so that makes 30% more. Then you have Galvanize. Activating Odin Force defensively will block grenades or other projectiles, deflecting away any explosive devices. Then we'll go right down below there. Divine Chaos. When Odin Force is full, perform several attacks in quick succession without sustaining damage to overcharge. And using the signature attack, again, will do this very quickly. Overcharging the intrinsic ability automatically activates Odin Force and keeps it active until taking damage, countering or ceasing attacks. So if you stop attacks, your overcharge goes away. You counter, overcharge goes away. Or if you take damage, your overcharge goes away. Power of Uru, intrinsic ability upgrade. Activating Odin Force while the hammer is pinned to an enemy or the world. So like basically if you throw it on the ground, activating Odin Force will radiate a periodic electrical pulse dealing additional damage to the pinned and any nearby enemies. So if you throw it in the middle of the floor, there's like 3 or 4 enemies around, you pop that Odin Force, you're starting to shock some enemies then. Alright, and this can break block. So go over here to this last column here. Legacy of Odin. So while Odin Force is active, attacking and defeating enemies will refund intrinsic energy, keeping Odin Force active for a longer period of time. Melee attacks restore 2 points of intrinsic energy, and defeating enemies will restore 15 points of energy. So while you're holding the right trigger, every melee you hit restores 2 points, and holding the Odin Force, defeating an enemy, gives you 15 points. Then you have Eternal Spark, reduces the decay rate of intrinsic Odin Force by 15% when the ability is used continuously. So, like if you're holding it down and you're just going to town with that signature attack, for example, it reduces the amount of Odin Force that is used. Then lastly, Odin's Offering. When the intrinsic Odin Force meter is fully depleted, defeating enemies instantly grants a boost of 15 points of intrinsic energy. So like if you're completely out and you defeat an enemy, you automatically get a little bit of that back. So now we'll go over here to the specialty column. This is where your support heroic, assault heroic, ultimate heroic abilities are. Okay, so your support heroic is Warrior's Fury. You press LB to channel the the power of the gods, supercharging the Odin Force ability beyond its normal limits. Grants a period of invulnerability to nearby team members and infuses attacks with lightning. It breaks block. It has medium damage, high impact, and low stun. And it staggers enemies, which is very useful because they go to attack, they're kind of like, oh lord. Then the level 2 of that is Warrior's Protection, increases the duration of Warrior's Fury by 2 seconds. Okay, the first column here is one of your specialization columns, which you get to choose one of the 3 of these choices. You have Ymir's Wrath. Nearby teammates receive a temporary damage boost of 25% when Warrior's Fury is activated. So when you pop Warrior's Fury, your teammates get 25% extra damage. Pretty self-explanatory. Then you have Hell's Discretion. Nearby downed teammates will be revived when Warrior's Fury is activated. We're going to go into kind of suggestions. I don't suggest this one because Kamala does this better. Hawkeye does this better. Kamala and Hawkeye do this way better on abilities that already are healing oriented. So, not for Thor. Not for Thor. You want Thor is your big bad damage daddy. Do you understand me? All right. Then you have Yggdrasil's Blessing. Nearby teammates recover 10% willpower every 3 seconds while ability is active. Again, Hawkeye does this better. Kamala Khan does this better. You're going to have one of those 2 people on your team. So do not sacrifice damage for Thor for incremental healing. It is a bad idea. Look at me. Look at me. Don't do it. So you have one option here. If you want the most out of Thor at what he does best, you have one option here. And that is Ymir's Wrath. So for Specialization 2 for your support heroic, you have Asgard's Fortune. Enemies defeated while Warrior's Fury is active have a 50% chance to drop a heroic orb. Hell's Anger increases critical attack damage by 25% and critical attack chance by 10% of anyone affected by Warrior's Fury. Asgard's Fortune seems like a good idea. It's not. You do not stay in Warrior's Fury long enough. I think it's like 13 seconds or something. Like, it's very, very quick. You don't stay in it long enough. This right here increases your crit damage as well as increases the chance for you getting a critical attack. Very good for quick, because like you want to pop Warrior's Fury and you're going right into one of your other heroics. 9 times out of 10, that's how it works. So the last one is Yggdrasil's Favor, which nearby teammates receive an intrinsic energy boost of 20% while Warrior's Fury is active. This is by far the worst option. By far the worst option. Because that intrinsic, it's not that great. Iron Man does this better and can do it longer and can kind of do it at will. It's not tied to one of his heroics. So Iron Man, like, he has that energy shield. He does this way better. So you kind of have just one option here. Hell's Anger is the way to go, especially if you're trying to stack damage on damage on damage. Like, Thor is a damage dealer. Cannot express that enough. All right, so this is where we're going to really get into the damage that I've been talking about. God Blast. All right, so this is Assault Heroic. All right, so you press the RB to summon a harrowing whirlwind that lifts nearby enemies into the air before blasting them with a powerful bolt of God-powered lightning that inflicts shock damage. It can be triggered in and out of aim, so you can either aim or not. This breaks block, has high damage, high impact, and low stun, but this is 9 times out of 10 going to kill pretty much everything in the room. Reactions, it launches enemies and it makes them fly back. It just causes mayhem. And it's very, very strong. Then you can upgrade it, get Burning Light. Assault Heroic upgrade, hitting 5 enemies with a single God Blast activates and overcharges the Odin force meter. So like this, like hitting a God Blast will immediately, with this, hitting God Blast on 5 or more enemies, so you're in a big crowded room, it automatically sends you into Overcharge. It's amazing. So like, you hit your Warrior's Fury, you go right into a God Blast, anything that's left is screwed. Then like the third level up here is High Voltage Blast, increases the amount of shock damage inflicted by the God Blast attack. So here, like it inherently has shock damage, but this increases the amount of shock damage it does. And again, it goes back to that battery effect. You fill it full of a positive effect, boom, God Blast, ungodly amounts of damage. Okay, so on the left side here, we have God Blast Specialization 1. You have 3 options again. So you can hold up to 3 charges of God Blast ability. The ability charges faster than normal, but enemies are not lifted into the air when God Blast is active. I don't suggest this one. I suggest. But it's a weaker version of God Blast, but you have 3 of them. Then you have Son of the Elder Gods. God Blast Whirlwind inflicts 20% more damage. So that's more damage when you're doing the whirlwind part. And applies cryo damage to targets caught in the swirling vortexes. So again, if they're filled with, I don't know, for example, vibranium or PIM or particle or PIM damage or plasma damage, if they're inflicted by one of them positives, this is throwing a negative effect on them. So You're constantly hitting battery, and then you punch them really hard with that shock damage at the end. Very, very good. That is my favorite. Then you have Legend of Asgard. Enemies caught in the God Blast Whirlwind have a 33% chance to drop regen packs. Do not choose this because it makes your God Blast weaker for no reason. So you want option 1 or 2. Option 1 or 2 depends on you. Then you have Specialization 2. Again, 3 more options here. You have Overexposure, which God Blast inflicts 15% increased normal and stun damage against shocked enemies. Then you have Overcharge Blast, which God Blast inflicts 20% increased damage when triggered while overcharged. It's the trick to being overcharged. And then you have Rolling Thunder. Defeating enemies with God Blast refunds 5% of Assault Heroic Energy, which is useful if you choose option number 1. Because you can just start getting God Blast back faster and faster. It's fun. Then you have the ultimate heroic ability, which is the Bifrost. You can drop down and cause all kinds of chaos. So you press LB and RB to activate the Bifrost, traveling to another realm before returning in a devastating torrent of energy from the heavens. Use the left stick after departure to pinpoint the impact destination and press RB to return. This breaks block, does high damage, has high impact, has low stun. This causes enemies to stumble and launch into the air, and again, causes chaos. I have a trick for this. Okay, so Precision Bifrost. Activating the Bifrost during peak charge. Basically, as you can see in this little tutorial, in the little demo here, when it turns red, boom, that's when you want to come down because it does 50% more damage. You drop down, you're like, where's Thanos? And you go straight to town with some damage. So basically, okay, so Specialization 1. This will allow you to bring elements for whatever realm you travel to in the Bifrost. So the first one is Yeltenheim's Tempest. Bifrost channels the heart of Yeltenheim on impact, creating an icy explosion that deals a massive amount of cryo status damage, slowing any enemies afflicted by the status effect. That's actually really good, again, in certain situations against Claw. But for everything else, there is Muspelheim's Torment, which is a fire realm. It's Surtur's realm. Bifrost leaves a massive circular hazardous zone of burning embers at its impact point, dealing additional damage as well as burn damage to all enemies inside the radius. Burn? Batteries with what? Cryo? Shock? See where we're going? Alright, and then the last one, it's there. Again, do not choose Thor's healing options over his damage. You should have people on your team that can heal. This is why 4 Thors do not work. You can do it, but they don't work. Do not choose this. Basically, Bifrost creates a spherical aura of healing around its impact point that restores 10% of willpower per second to all team members within the area. That's cool, but Hawkeye's support ability does this better. So, don't waste extra battery on a support ability. Just telling you. Muspelheim is the one. Then you have option 2, which is the Bifrost Specialization 2. You have 3 options again. Okay, first one is Invigorating Bifrost. Heroic orbs restore an additional 5% of heroic energy when picked up. Automatically recover. Okay, so you have Asgard's Light. Automatically recovers 50% of the maximum willpower when returning from the Bifrost. This is actually not bad. Not bad. Not a bad option. Odin's Blessing of the Realm. This is the frickin' one you frickin' want. Odin's Blessing of the Realm. Automatically activates Odin Force Overcharge when returning from the Bifrost. So once you've done that and you are overcharged, you come in here and you've got the Overcharge Blast. So this is how you want, okay, this is how you want to do this. For especially specifically fighting a big bad boss. This is how you start a boss fight with Thor. If it's the Super Adaptoid, if you're doing damage to Claw, if you're fighting a villain sector and you just want to end the frickin' fight. Alright, so say for example, I use Lethal Will on Thor. I pop Lethal Will. I then hit my Warrior's Fury, then go into the Bifrost, come down with Muspelheim, boom, started filling them up with the burn damage. I'm automatically overcharged. Then I hit him with the God Blast. Start hitting him with that cryo. I'm overcharged. And it's just beautiful, godly damage. You see how all of that stuff kind of works together? Alright, the last one is Mastery. I'm going to go over this really quick. Alright, so Damage Specialization 1 is a melee upgrade. You got 3 options here. Increases melee stun damage by 15%. Not a bad option. Increases all ranged attack by 15%. If you're going ranged, choose that one. The last one is Light and Heavy Attack. Boosts the energy of all heroic ability meters by 1.5% or for light attacks and 2% for heavy attacks. This is a good option. For a Valor build, 1 and 2 are both good options. I prefer this one because I already have high stun, so I don't need the extra 15% stun. So like for like each of those signature light attacks, I'm getting like 1.5% for every time I hit him, and there's so many freaking hits on that stupid thing. It's wicked. Damage Specialization 2 is another melee upgrade. You've got increased damage from unarmed attacks by 15%. I don't really do the unarmed thing. But if you're running an unarmed, like you want to be like, I'm unworthy Thor, I think there's even perks in the game now for fighting unarmed, which is cool. Increases damage for unarmed attacks by 15%. Increases, and then Critical Juggler increases critical attack damage when air juggling enemies. I don't really do that, so I don't choose that. You can choose that one if you want to, I guess. And then there's combo damage. Increases damage from combo finishers by 25%. That's the option for me if I kind of want to do one of the combo finisher combos real quick to get them out of my face. That's a good option. Takedown Specialization. There is one option. Hear me now. There is one option. Regen packs ain't it, and intrinsic packs are not, or extra healing are not it. There's one option. The middle one. Performing a takedown forces an enemy to drop in a heroic orb. With Thor and pretty much every character in the game, this is the one option you choose for takedown mastery. Heroic takedown mastery is the one. For everyone. Heroic orbs are important, especially for Thor. All right, Hammer Specialization 1. It's a ranged upgrade. So you've got hold the right trigger to charge tornado, throw, and cause the hammer to spawn a series of lightning explosions on impact. Disables the ability to pin combatants. Don't really see this as a viable option because pinning's always useful, and you don't, especially with a Valor build, you don't want to throw enemies all over the freaking place because you kind of want as many enemies right there to God bless them. Then there is manual targeting, which there are all, I know that for a fact there's perks in the game for this now that add actually more targeting. So hold right trigger to manually target enemies while aiming tornado throw, and it disables the ability to pin combatants, which I prefer to be able to pin enemies. Alright, so we have critical throw. You hold the right trigger, then release precisely when the hammer flashes to guarantee the throw inflicts 20% increased critical attack damage. So basically, you let it go at the right point, more damage. That's the one I chose, because I think I like pinning my opponents. Alright, Hammer Specialization 2 is another ranged upgrade. Critical return increases the chance the hammer will inflict critical attacks on return flight by 35%. So when the hammer's coming back, could increase more damage. High velocity increases hammer throw and recall speed by 15%. Basically means throwing and bringing your hammer back is faster. Then there is Guard Breaker. Ranged attacks with the hammer break through blocking enemies. So that those annoying enemies with shields, the hammer will still hit them and jack them up. Useful. Alright, then we have Flight Specialization, your traversal upgrade. You have three options. Extended Flight generates an electrical charge that is dispersed in an energy explosion on impact. Then you have Hold A while flying to quickly accelerate forward in a momentary speed burst, drains intrinsic Odin force energy when used. Then you have Flying Shots. Press B while flying to shoot out bolts of lightning at nearby enemies. Slowly drains the intrinsic Odin force energy while active. It's good. It's good for just kind of like deterring enemies and get them away from you really quick if you're flying low, or you've got them stupid blowing up dudes like right on your case. Go watch my video about the about the gear leveling method. You'll understand why I hate those dudes. So Odin Force Attack Specialization is an intrinsic upgrade. Once unlocked, you will choose one of these three. Okay, so you have Ionic Bolts. Defeating enemies while Odin Force is active strikes nearby targets with lightning. Force of Will. Dealing damage while Odin Force is active will recover 1.2% willpower per hit. This could be useful as a way to gain health back for Thor. Orb Dynamo. Defeating enemies while Odin Force is active has a 25% chance to generate regen packs for all team members. Option 1 or option 2. Again, like this, dropping regen packs, I would not sacrifice damage for that. Odin Force Charge Specialization is another intrinsic upgrade. Okay, so you have Maximum Force. Increases the maximum amount of intrinsic Odin Force energy by 15%, so it gives you more intrinsic energy. Performing a perfect dodge grants 30 points of intrinsic Odin Force energy. I don't suggest this one because it requires a perfect dodge, which is not every dodge. Unless you're really good at perfect dodging, then have at it. Takedown Charge. Takedown grants 30% of intrinsic Odin Force energy, which could be useful. So you have option 1 or option 3 there. I would not choose the middle one unless you're absolutely amazing at dodging. Odin Force Efficiency Specialization. A honed force reduces the overall energy cost of using the intrinsic Odin force ability by 10%. Then you have surging force, increases the automatic regeneration speed of intrinsic Odin force energy by 12%. Then you have Asgardian Fortitude, reduces the intrinsic Odin Force energy penalty incurred when failing to counter against stronger unblockable attacks by 50%. So it's kind of a failsafe. If you're good at blocking and stuff, you don't really need that. But I prefer the reduces the overall energy cost. It's very effective. Okay, this is your intrinsic overcharge stuff. Overcharge attack specialization. Okay, bleh, I don't need to read that. Alright, so you have power hazard. When overcharged power attacks generate small electrical hazards. This is the one. This is like a light version of the passive stuff on Warrior's Fury. When overcharged, surrounding enemies will be intermittently struck by lightning. So this just kind of like disrupts a lot of things when you're overcharged. So like this just, again, stacks on coming out of the Bifrost. This stacks on, yeah, it gets nuts. Like his kit really, really works well together. Explosive defense. When overcharged, countering enemy attacks summons an additional lightning bolt with an explosion size increased by 35%. That's fun. I prefer the middle one. Okay, then you have Overcharge Defense Specialization. You have increases damage resistance by 50% when overcharged. That's fine, but as soon as you're hit, you can automatically come out of overcharge. Then you have increased willpower recovery by 2%. Like, this is a decent way to recover with him. So say you choose Force of Will and you choose this one. Kind of stacks, kind of helps you out. So that's a very viable option for healing if you want to choose that. Charged Heroic increases heroic energy regeneration when Odin Force is overcharged by 10%. So while you're overcharged, you are already gaining an extra 10% on your heroic charge rate. And, you know, with Thor, your charge rate needs to be relatively high. Alright, so Overcharged Activation Specialization. So, okay, so like you have increase all damage by 15% when this stacks with the coming out of the Bifrost and doing more damage with the God Blast. This is just more damage. Again, his kit works very freaking well together when you can piece the puzzle together. Increases all damage by 15% when Odin Force is overcharged. Then you have when Odin Force meter is full, increases the amount of overcharge energy gained on each attack by 20%. Not a bad option. Not a bad option, especially if you're doing the whole like melee thing and less of the kaboom thing. Unarmed Force increases the amount of overcharged intrinsic Odin Force energy gained by unarmed attacks. So like if you want to use the headbutt, there you go. Now, break down the champion levels. You have three that you want to prioritize. The rest are whatever, because the rest of them kind of suck. So, for Thor, heroic damage boost. Yes. Critical damage boost. Yes. And heroic charge rate boost. Also, yes. So, yeah. And then, like, I mean, I guess crit chance boost and status and stun damage aren't bad options either. But, like, the three you want to prioritize are heroic damage, critical damage, and your heroic charge rate. Everything else is kind of secondary. Everything else is kind of lame duck. Like, melee and range, suck. Crit chance isn't bad. Status and stun, not bad. Perk chance doesn't really do much. Status resistance, and there's not a lot of things that give you status though. It's weird. Maximum willpower, it's fine. Like your defensive ones are fine. All right, here we're going to go ahead and kind of give you just a real quick mission, kind of show you how his kit can kind of work together and how I specifically play Thor. So you can use this to kind of kill these little things because they're annoying. So, alright, so boom. Let's hit that Warrior's Fury. That's not bad for, see, look at that ranged. Oh, and pinning is very useful against these dudes. And there's a nice little headbutt for him. Boom, boom, boom. And we'll throw that around. There's a couple of chests there. I don't really need those. Should go back and get this heroic orb. Alright, so you're gonna have a lot of enemies over here. See, that's one reason I like pinning enemies, because I can do that. You see me self-battery? Thor's worst enemy right there. Spin bots. Got me. Oh, we got frozen. See what I'm saying? I'd use that whole thing a lot. See, I didn't even hit the guys, and I'm like... Alright. Get these heroic orbs. See all these heroic orbs that we got just laying around here? I know where these bad guys are. Alright, thanks for throwing him way over there. Appreciate that. Oh, he dodged me. Alright. So we'll fly around here, get this dude over here. Alright. Alright. And we'll just kind of get rid of these jerks. So you can see Warrior's Fury kind of protects you a little bit. Oh, that wasn't the last guy. He's this little jumpy dude. Oh. Alright. Ugh. Yeah. Alright. Now we'll get to show you a little bit of how I handle like boss fights and stuff. All right. Now let's see if we can get some big boy damage on this guy. Alright, so we go boom. Just like that. Just like that.
Thank you for watching this video. I've been Misfit Thor. If you have any tips for building Thor, leave them in the comments below. And we can talk about it there. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell notification button so you know when I release a new video. Have a good one.